Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays Planet Coaster. If you missed the last episode, we are in the midst of making a new ride, which is going to be real tricky because we're having it kind of, the intention at least is that it's going to intersect with a lot of these other elements. Really just to make the most use, I should say, of the rest of the park that's available. You know, we're on fairly limited space here. We're also on, you know, fairly limited processing power, apparently, as the park is now over 10,000, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's the first time we have, we've hit that number. We'll probably go back and forth over and below that as well, is my guess, but for now, we have crossed that goal. So once we get over that, like, permanently, that'll be awesome. But yeah, we're building this roller coaster right now that, I mean, to be honest with you, has not necessarily turned out exceptionally so far. I think we need to throw in, like, a right turn element before we... I mean, maybe not before we level them out, but we need to throw in a right turn a little sooner than I was doing so earlier. So we'll just actually... Can we throw them for, like, a... Will they love a vertical loop? These people go apeshit over vertical loops. They do, but I think we gotta turn them even a little faster than that. That, like this section right here, will murder people. That's gonna be like 25 Gs. That's more along the lines of what we're looking for, actually, is something like that, but expanded so that people don't die. And also, where is the problem here? The problem is right there. So, we could actually, depending on how you feel about, you know, the well-being of your consumers, I feel like we could have them go even a little bit faster. Like, that is the ticket, actually. I know that this is not the same element we had before, but this seems like exactly what we're looking for. That's as large as it gets as well. Okay, let's see how they handle this. This looks relatively not ball-busting. That's a little bit of an issue there. But they do get over it. And I think if we play our cards right, like just put a, like trim brakes here, trim brakes here, they will get through that section without being like catastrophically screwed. So... You know, when the launch starts, the lift hill is really fast. It kills excitement, but it gets them up there really quick. And I mean, you gotta raise them up. How are you gonna raise them up? Or how are you gonna drop them if you don't raise them up, you know? Okay, so they go over that. They're excited. It is handled better as a result of that. We could even, I feel, afford... That's already trim brakes. Maybe one more trim brake section. Let's just operate on the assumption that that is actually going to work. And then get to work on the next part of this, which is going to be, you know, a little bit spaghetti-inducing. Because we got to, like, feed this coaster through these other coasters. Maybe even, like, directly through the loops in order to get it back to the home base. But if we can make this work, as hideous as this is going to look from, like, a, hey, here's a postcard from Ryan's Park sort of standpoint, it's going to be... much nicer. Okay, the stats on that are a lot better. It's going to be much nicer from a real estate standpoint, for sure. So I think we're going to, you know, have people come through here. Once they get to the bottom of this, they're in the green. Which means, from my perspective, they got room to eat shit, basically. So we're going to get them pretty close to the ground, like so. And then, honestly, why not make use of some of the horizontal space we've got over here? We're never going to be able to build a path through this. So we might as well take advantage of it and maybe throw them for, like, I guess, exclusively vertical loops to the right. Now, are they going fast enough to make it through that? I can't see how they wouldn't be. Just knowing the very little that I know about the laws of physics. Hopefully they don't get... yeah, it's a little dip there that they're not going to be too pleased with. No, that's, they get dropped a little bit here and they're pissed about it. So what if we just have them come out of this? Excuse me? No, that should be trim brakes. That's my bad. What if we just have them come out of this at the same angle? And that's going to bleed off excitement, but they're going to be going pretty fast. It's not like they should be, like, too displeased by this. And we'll just throw them for a vertical loop to the right and see how they feel about that. So they're coming over. The stats are pretty green. They're not as afraid as they were. They do get a little bit more afraid and a little bit more nauseous when they come through this. But, you know, I have a method for dealing with that. You throw a little trim brake section in here. And presumably, they're still going to be able to make it past that trim brake section and get through that loop. We can mildly adjust the parameters if they don't. Any minute now. There we go. Let's just make sure before we do it. It only takes like a second for this thing to get up to the top anyway, so I'm not super worried about their ability to make it through this, but we should check on it. We also want to make sure we're not hitting the yellow too much on fear and nausea, just in general. Nausea still hits the red, but it's sort of a necessary evil, in order to keep excitement high, because otherwise they're not going to make it through that loop. And we're pretty much just going to do exactly the same. I mean, you've seen me do this on coasters like many times before, but we're going to throw them through another vertical loop, this time to the left. Oh, I really thought that to the left would be able to put them in maybe the starting position there. And then my plan, at least for now, is to, is to take them up. And take them through this section that's, or at least like over top of this track right here, and then take them back around to the base. And I think that is not going to be implausible. I just want to make sure that they're not getting too nauseous when they go through loop 2 here. I mean, it should be fine. They do go back into the yellow. Then it comes back down, and they love the vertical loops. Like, they do get a little unexcited as that one comes around, but you know, that's just life, man. So I'm actually going to raise them up. And we should have the momentum for this. And then throw them for a pretty big overbank turn to the right. Not as big as I would like, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, so we're not going to raise them up. We're going to let the overbank turn do that. So we're going to get them on the level. And then we're going to throw them back to the right. But to a degree like that, I mean, it's gonna make the rest of this track a little tricky. Might as well just get on the level with that, you know, get your expectations set. Because we're kind of spinning them out like right under this other track, and we need to raise them up a little bit. So I'm sort of skeptical about our ability here, but let's see. So yeah, they go, oh, this is boring. Another vertical loop. Oh, has mankind gone too far or not far enough, etc., etc. Then this section is a little compact, but they love it. And I'm very happy to hear that. So I think we want to have them come like as soon as they get down, throw them for a little bend here. Actually just gonna like that, level them out, and we're not doing this as smoothly as we probably should, but you know, hopefully you can see my idea here, which is that we're kind of getting them onto a straight track. And then what are we gonna do from this point? Well, that's actually a fantastic question, because we don't have a ton of real estate left and we've got to raise them up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that we're constrained here. But all creativity, all art comes from constraints. If you get unlimited resources, you know, it's something beauty's in the eye of the beholder, is what I've always said. So we throw them for that overbank turn. They love it. They go absolutely crazy. Oh, an overbank turn's my favorite element in any coaster in history. And they get dropped. They do get rattled, but not to a degree that I find troubling. So I think maybe what we'd want to do here is give them like an incline loop. Something that takes them up a level, you know? Like a banana roll looks cool, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that spits them out at a higher level than they started at. So yes, basically something like this, a half helix up or a full helix up. I can't believe this loop fits. And yet nothing else does. A top hat fits too, apparently. I don't even know what this element does, but it looks like this part right here is going to make people die. So I'm probably going to stay away from that. Well, we could always, if we have to, for momentum's sake, we could use, you know, the motor sections. Like, something. They're already nauseous. Like, pretty nauseous enough that I would find it sort of troubling. Let's raise them up and just throw in like a nice little 45-degree, gentle, sort of like, hey, I need you to be over here. I don't know if that's the official name for this element, but, you know, just a little nice, I need you right here. And we'll slowly unbend you. And you know what I'm thinking here is like, what if we can get them to shoot through that loop to finish this? So they should be coming down here any second now. Wait, where are they? Okay, here they are. I'll be the first to tell you this is probably not the greatest coaster ever invented. And I expect that is probably going to continue to be the trend, and that's life. Life goes on. Have this thing come in here and hopefully drop you in a sensible location. So you come through here, and then this is really the neck breaker. This is where, like, I built a monorail track, but you're hitting it at like 70 miles an hour. Yeah, so, you know, it is a little bit, you know, break your head wide open. But you can, like, totally make it through. And then if we just throw, like, some, you know, very simple track right here, and even level it out. And then autocomplete, and see if it can even do it. I think it'll figure it out, yeah. And then I already know for a fact, like, we're gonna need a pretty ridiculous braking section. You won't let me? Okay, there we go. Like, this whole thing might need to be brakes. So that's going to be pretty expensive. Let's see how they even handle this right now. So where are you at? They're coming down the loop. I think we might end up with a couple of yellows here. And in particular, I think nausea might be too high. But we can affect nausea by throwing in some trim brakes or smoothing a section over and over, a.k.a. the mouth trick. Still pretty pleased as they come through the apex of that. They're accelerating. They love it. Who doesn't love the overbank turns? Gives you a little sense of weightlessness. Ain't it good to be alive, etc., etc. Oh, my neck's broken, Mom. I don't want to ride the roller coaster anymore. Dude, that's a pretty cool section right there. And then we just slow them down. I mean, that was a pretty good ending, I thought. They're in the yellows for everything. Okay, well, we need to amp up the excitement, huh? But not by much. I think, smooth the whole thing, dude. Smooth banking. This part desperately needs all of it to be smoothed. At the high cost of $1.50, I think we can accept that. I just, even if excitement stays in the yellow, if I could get nausea down into the green, I would be pretty happy with it, considering, you know, the very unique space that this occupies in our park, basically having to fit within, like, 3 other coasters. So, we can take away some braking sections to speed things up, which will be more exciting, but it'll also, of course, you know, it'll carry some negatives as well. Like, excitement largely seems good. Another thing we might want to do is just add, like, one element on the back half of the track here, or even take away some of the trim brakes at the exit, because maybe they're just spending too much time at that exit, and, yeah, like, this section, I don't know, they get back into the 9s, though. Then they fall back 6, 7, I don't know, it's not that bad. 5, 7, 3. So it didn't even help that much. Fear is too high, is that correct? Yeah, I think it's just like slightly too high. Well, another thing that we could do, although we do want to raise excitement in the process, is, you know, is this a trim brake section? That is a trim brake section. You could just throw in another, but then they're not going to make it through this thing right here. So, is that a trim brake section? No. All right, tell you what, throw in a trim brake section right there. You know, the coaster, once it exists, is going to live in our park forever. So, I think it is, relatively sensible to make sure that we're getting as many kinks out of the system as is possible before coaster launch, or as I call it, like coaster launcha. And it's got, I like this unique element right here where you fly in between the, you know, the vertical loop of another coaster, a better coaster probably. But all right, so we slowed them down a little bit here, and that's crushed excitement. And now they cannot even get through that section. So we're going to cancel that big time. And I think there's a couple more things we could do. Right here, this shit needs to be smoothed, son. Like, particularly the drop. Because I think that is where we're losing the plot a little bit. So let's ride this ourselves. I mean, the roller coasters that spin, like the water ride, that is gonna make me throw up way more than this. This is a nice coaster, in my opinion. But that is maybe a little bit of an ambitious drop there to start with, but the stats are pretty good. So then we take them through like a nice vertical loop. They are a little nauseous. As am I, but I think that's mostly that the game is running at like 12 frames a second now. Like 1 frame for every 1,000 park attendees. I mean, obviously that makes no sense. Alright, that's a pretty okay section, I think. And nausea comes down nicely right here. And this is, if I could just keep the stats like that, that would be ideal. But this is obviously where things get a little dicey. And excitement gets temporarily killed. I'm amazed that this back section is not, like, breaking people, but that's okay. The stats are exactly the same. I mean, I disagree with the game to some extent. I think this coaster is better than it looks, but I understand that we're not trying to make the best coaster. We're trying to make a coaster that adheres to the rules of this experience here. So, I think that there is something we can do. What about these can only be placed on straight or unbanked track that isn't sloped past 90 or negative 90? Well, straight or unbanked? Okay, so straight makes sense. I understand that. Like, what if we did, yeah, like, come around at the same angle that you were doing before. Is it not then straight, or is it... No, it says 0, but why can we not, I mean, sure, I mean, it's done, but why can I not, make that a speed increase, you know? Similarly, like... Oh, that's still part of... Okay, wait. Slow down. You don't need that much. Okay. Like, what if we, instead of, that, we just actually sped you up on this section? Like, as you hit the bottom of the drop, you actually get a speed boost. And this could make people, like, a little bit happier through this segment. I don't know how much faster you're going to get out of that, but... it might have, like, some value. But we don't want to speed you up before you go through this part right here. So maybe we'll speed you up before the overbank turn, slow you down, and then hopefully that reduces the nausea while simultaneously raising excitement on a slightly earlier part of the track. But either way, we're probably going to launch this one pretty soon. Pun intended, I suppose. Because I think that this is roughly as good as it gets for me. And I also think that we are not going to have a... we're not really going to have an opportunity to put anything else in this section of the park. This really uses up all the available space. Are we doing better than filler? Yes, I would say that we're probably slightly better than filler. So, let's see how this works. We're going to speed them up. Did they actually speed up? It's hard to tell because they were already, like, moving pretty quick. But this is a pivotal moment because they're going to slow down right here. And we didn't hit the red there. But can they make it up here without excitement hitting 0? They mostly seem pretty stoked. That might be enough to take nausea back to the green. Well, it did lower nausea and fear, but also excitement. So, I'll tell you what. Last test, I promise. Fucking hit him where it hurts, bud. Give him that ridiculous excitement level by cranking this up. Just one stat in the green would be acceptable. But I think the way that you're supposed to do this is the way that the Coldplay simulator works. On a straight track, you get them going really fast, and then you have kind of momentum carry them up a lift hill instead of doing things the way I did them. But if this gets us into, like, all yellow, I'll live with it. And even if it doesn't sell tickets, what do we care? Like, we're hovering around 10,000. We're making money. You know, we're spending $20,000 building a coaster that kind of sucks, and it doesn't really matter because at least it fills out, you know, this section of the park, which would otherwise be inaccessible. So that's where we speed people up there. Are they more, well, they're more afraid when they come through that section, I think. In fact, they are substantially more afraid and also more nauseous. So probably we're going to axe that, unless we stay in yellow for everything else, but get to green for excitement, which I think is debatable. It looked like fear and nausea took the biggest hits there. Yeah, so you know what? Control Z. Run the test. I'm going to take it up to speed 3, which will probably run even slower. And then we'll launch the freaking coaster, and then we're going to be, you know, good to go here. Not the best coaster of all time, I think it's fair to say. Unpredictable. How are things even going? I mean, I haven't even looked over here. We're 21 minutes into this episode. This coaster took... There's like a rule of thumb for me. The longer it takes to do a coaster, the worse it's going to be. But sure, there's our coaster. Torque 1. We're just going to call this Torque starring Iced Cube. I understand that his name is Ice Cube. I also understand that I don't want to get sued. So we'll put entrance here. I mean, in reality, we should probably have the exit coming off the other side. So, you know, don't hate me because I'm beautiful, but also an idiot here. We're going to edit the track and we're going to say, you know, station to station, you enter left, exit right, take my hand, you're off to Never Never Land. And that means we got to run the whole freaking test over again. So we'll go to speed 3, place the entrance, which is not possible on speed 3, apparently. We're going to place it far away so that I have space with which to build the path. And the same goes here. Then we're going to connect the entrance to the path. And I don't expect Torque starring Iced Cube to be the most profitable ride that we have ever had in our park. In fact, there is effectively, I think, 0 chance that that actually ends up happening. And that's just, I mean, that's a real world problem that we're going to have to accept for ourselves in today's modern, you know, business landscape. Now, I think this should get down to the ground. Relatively acceptable. You know what? Just open it up. I don't think that this is going to be one of the most popular rides in the park. I mean, we got 5-star rides that are not, you know, making people that excited, which is a real bummer for me, because, like, I think those ones are pretty freaking good. But it is what it is. We're still over 10,000 here. Paige Milligan is thinking about quitting. Have you seen the new roller coasters we're offering? Who would quit this one? It's the most magical place on earth. It's the most wonderful place in the world. As long as you don't want a snow globe or a stupid sci-fi radio, it's the most wonderful park in the world. Okay, who wants to quit? Paige Milligan, I implore you, reconsider. Read some literature on the subject. You sure? I should really quit my job. My pay is fair. You are a master. people just not... You had 45 customers last month, Paige. It's ridiculous. Tell you what. If you don't want to work here, that's fine. But I'm going to give you a fair wage. And I'm going to make you quit in spite of my generosity. Mostly so that when your next job, which is actually like emotionally fulfilling, calls me about giving you a reference, I've got a good reason to say no. And the Scooby-Doo and the po-po-po-po-po and the wimpy tentacle and the... Please tell me I can make... Oh, you know I can. Every ride gets wimpy tentacle. We need some more scenery around this ride. So we're like, I mean, I wouldn't say we're consistently over 10,000. But I'd say we're pretty close to consistently over 10,000. Seems like that's pretty close to ideal here. And at this point, all idea of consistent scenery has like fallen by the wayside. So just, you know, like keep that in mind here. The rhymes I designed to explain in due time, etc., etc. You know, throw some freaking flower stalls down. Flower stalls are innocent. I just want to see one person ride this. I don't want like a Rob's Redemption status. Now I know that like we're at 100% for this Q rating. That's not good enough. I may even, as anti-capitalist as this may sound, I may offer a discount to ride this. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this is actually one of the most interesting coasters in the park. The game's metrics don't necessarily agree. Now, why would you build your fairground surrounded by trees? That's just bad business. But you know what? I don't make the rules, except for the times that I 100% do. So, I just want to see what are we charging for this roller coaster right now? We're charging $12. You know what? It's a $10 coaster. Just for now. And right now, it's got a 3-star rating. That's not that bad. All we need is some people to actually go on it. Oh, that's gross. Somebody threw up. I like the look of Let the Good Times Roll. Chief Beef 21 looks too busy. I'm not queuing that long to go on baby delivery service. Guest happiness. This is something we haven't checked out all episodes, so we should look at it now that we've got our coaster finally built. It's actually gone up, which is good. Maybe we finally bled off, like, there's not much scenery here. Probably, like, in this section. Or maybe, you know, in that section. That seems fair as well. Maybe we've bled off some of the demand. Doesn't really appear so. Please. There should be more scenery around here. Yeah, whatever. Archie, if that is your real name. I'm sorry. You're so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You look like you're ready to take on the world. I don't think anyone's gonna ride this coaster, my dog. Just the same way that nobody watched the Ice Cube movie Torque, but... What is that beard? Modesto Jagger. The most magnificent facial hair, baldness, eyebrow, open-collared V-neck shirt tucked into the chinos. It's a style for all ages. Looks like a mouth drawing from Pintarrillo. Anyway, Modesto Jagger is also a little prissy bitch as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'll come back to Pip Shot Water 60 when it's less busy. Maybe I'll give you my business when you've got less business. What an asshole, dude. Now, baby delivery service is crushing it. And by crushing it, I mean doing okay. They've done it. They've done it. They've done it. They've done it. Oh, we hooked them. Welcome to the fucking show. Why? Why didn't you go on it? Oh, man, I don't have enough money for Torque Star and Ice Cube. It's $10. A hamburger is like $200 here. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We continue to make money and kick ass, take names, etc., etc. Just a Memento continues to be ridiculously popular. Making $7,200 a month on the Poseidon Adventure for no reason. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.